Here's a happy little riff I just came up with. Something like that. I have just gotten back into playing guitar after probably months without playing. So I'm just starting to get my calluses back and it's starting to click. I'll save that for another video. That's a really cool song I just came up with. I recorded it up at Bear's Den the other day, but it's kind of loud up there, so I'll redo it. My goal for music needs to be to sing and add lyrics, but I don't know if I want to do lyrics now. I'm getting out of the verbal side of my mind recently. Like, I always journal, and today I just didn't want to journal. I didn't want to think. I think way too much. Too much self-talk going on. That's the opposite of the meditative state, which is what I'm trying to achieve. I've been meditating very intensely recently. Meditated probably a couple hours today. Anyway, what else? I don't know if I want to do an update on life or not. I mean, I'd like to. It's cathartic, but it's the same thing. I'm a very verbal person, and I express myself verbally, and it's very interesting how I feel my heart and mind changing right now. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just top of my head, just trying to make a video. And I don't know if I have any direction for topics anymore. I just want to focus on music. And yeah, so the only reason I'm continuing to talk when I don't have anything to say is to just unblock the mind and just do free association. So I don't think I've made a real YouTube video since my accident. Possibly after. That was back in end of September, beginning of October, skateboard accident. So yeah, a lot has changed. A lot of spiritual doors have really opened up, especially recently. I'm not in a great spot right now. I'm still up and down, but I'm starting to stabilize. And part of that is facing anxiety and not running away from it, and actually letting myself feel the things I feel through meditation. And instead of attempting to find peace through meditation, I have the attitude of, I'm not even going to try to find peace. That's not how it works. You can't achieve peace through meditation or activities. You have to just get out of the way. And you can basically just lessen the anxiety over time if you are willing to actually experience it. So it's sort of this paradox of where leaning into anxiety to some degree. And it stops the cycle where it snowballs. We get anxious over being anxious, and then you start self-medicating, and then, through substances, sexual fantasy, food, YouTube, and yeah, so it's a paradox, but there's a certain logic to it, and you have to really be willing to face your fears. God doesn't fall for reverse psychology. I've been thinking about how if you let go of attempting to achieve something, in my experience, that can actually be the catalyst for making it happen. Not always, but in some cases, especially in my recent life, I've realized that as soon as I'm willing to let go of something I've been holding on to, like as a goal, once I make the decision to let it go, that's when it's no longer me filling up the attempt with my own intentions and motives, and then God has room to move in and do it for you. But you really have to be willing to be okay with whatever comes in. And it might not be something that you want. You can't be like, okay, God, I'm going to let go of this with the expectation. It's a dance. It's a weird dance. It's hard to find that balance, but a lot of finding that balance for me is based on learning to trust intuition rather than like logic and facts and data, which I'm all about. And so, yeah. What else? Do I have anything else to say? I'm very self-conscious because I've gotten out of the habit of making videos, and I think the last time I made a video, it was probably just some updates on like the accident and stuff and what happened, but not the rest of my life. I'm still at my parents' house right now. My house in town is still being worked on, and the cold is driving me crazy. I really wanted to get some sunlight today to get my day started. One of those ingredients for a positive, mentally healthy life includes nature and sunlight, and I just couldn't do it. It was just too cold, too windy. But we have had a couple days of springtime weather past week, and I'm definitely planning on taking full advantage of spring weather right out of the gate. I'm not going to just wait around and just get complacent. I think last spring, last summer, it's all running together now, but I put off running, and I put off, getting outside for way too long. And I want to really capitalize on all the progress I've made, and I feel like last year, I would say I sowed my seeds in the ground that I have been tilling for years, in the spiritual winter. And I feel like this year, the beginning of this year, is when I started realizing, okay, it's all been planted. And so yeah, so it's I think going to take less work this time. It's, progress is, the tricky thing about progress is you can be a lot further forward than you think you are, because you've come this far, and then this far, and then this far, and then this far, and based on that trajectory, you could say, it took me 2 years just to get, this stable, or this, or accomplish this, and and then you'll project that rate of change and rate of progress into the future. But those 2 years of walking the path could have the purpose of bringing you up to a doorway that's right here, and you just don't know it yet. It's right around the corner. And so yeah, when it comes to like self-improvement and stuff, I put a lot of work and effort into, bettering myself to combat the ways that I have sabotaged myself, and just been helpless for a long time, and didn't really seem to do much, but planted the seeds. Meditation, for instance, I think it was like probably about 2 years ago, I decided to get really into meditation, and I was going to be disciplined about it. And so that meant that I would, meditate for a certain amount of time, minimum every day, probably around a half an hour and up to 2 hours on some days. And even though I wasn't making any progress, and it was just sucky, and I wasn't actually obtaining the meditative state, but I told myself, if I just keep doing it, just keep at it, it'll click. And it just never did. And so I gave up. I just was like, not working, but, worth a shot. So that, the reward from that might not have come at the time that I expected it to, but my willingness to do it, I think, was still that was still I don't know. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say for now. I'm drawing a Quetzalcoatlus. I want to talk about those. Okay, so Epiphany. I'm going to start making videos where I talk about my favorite animals in scientific facts. And thylacines were my most recent deep dive, and now I'm getting into Azhdarchids, giraffe-sized pterosaurs. Because when it comes to ideas that I want to share, like, they've for a long time always been things that had sort of spiritual, social, cultural significance. So profound ideas that, you know, that people need to hear, because ideas that will change the way we think about the world and spirituality and ourselves and all that, things that have really profoundly impacted me, and I want to share those. But I think I'm at the point now where I feel secure enough in those that I don't want to go tell the world and get preachy about, you know, the right way to think and the right way to be. And so my my brain shutting down the verbal aspect of thought more has been frustrating, but I think it's a good sign. I first noticed it probably a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, right after I'd got COVID. I've become a very, very expressive, emotionally expressive person, you know, to those I'm close to. People like my mom and stuff. And then all of a sudden I couldn't open up and I couldn't share. And I was like, is this like me shutting down, like in a bad way? Like I need to process things verbally because I'm a verbal person. So is this a regress? And then I realized, no, I don't think it is. I think it's because when it comes to like talking about my feelings and my life and all that, I've said everything that there is to say. You know, I've concluded a lot of things that have been a long time coming. Anyway, I don't know if I'm making sense, but yeah, so all I'm going to conclude with now is that sitting here talking to a camera and imagining somebody else watching it and becoming self-conscious of that really highlights the fact that I'm alone, and the only person that I might be communicating to is somebody who from my perspective doesn't exist. They're just out there in the ether somewhere, and I don't even expect that to happen. I might not get any views on this. I'm just going to put it out there, though. I'm very alone, and that's one of the biggest issues facing my life, and that needs to change, because all of my self-improvement and spiritual practices and all that have been not enough to actually find healing and growth, because it's like I have a ball and chain around my ankle and I'm trying to climb a mountain, and that's loneliness. And so I've recently begun to change that. So I'll just leave it there.